2021 Estate Cabernet from Calcareous, coming out here in the fall 2023 club. I'll get into this in a little bit. I think this is the best cab I've ever made. I'm pretty excited about it. But before we get into the wine, one little fun thing I want to let all of our club members know, people that have tried our wines before. There's a slight change to the Calcareous packaging this year. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I had a bunch of parameters that I needed to be met to make it happen, and it's finally happened. This is a little anticlimactic, but there's a new cork that I've chosen to use for Calcareous. As you can see, the little bumps there, it's a conglomerate cork. So it's made from tiny little chunks of cork compacted together into the traditional cork shape. Why did I do this? Cost cutting, right? No, it's actually about the same cost as a natural cork. The number one reason that I did this is that we lose 3 to 5% of our wines to cork taint every year. That means when we're sending out this club shipment, 5% of you, there's a chance, you're getting a bad bottle of wine, and it's unacceptable. And often a lot of people who aren't, pulling corks all the time, like our servers and us here in the winery, you may not be perfectly familiar with what cork taint smells like. And once you are, you know what it smells like, and it's obviously ruins the wine. And that's just too much. 3 to 5% was just too much. So with these corks in the factory, basically you can break down the cork into little chunks, and they use high pressure carbon dioxide, which removes all of those chemicals that are produced by fungus and mold naturally in cork oak that produces those off flavors that infects the wine and basically ruins the bottle. And so I've wanted for a long time to get away from that, but I love natural cork. I love the ceremony of cork. I don't like screw top. I like cork because it's like a present being unwrapped or something. You need a little bit of ceremony, a little bit of time to enjoy it. A corkscrew pulling out, hearing the pop, it's just, to me, part of the experience of opening and sharing a bottle of wine with people. And so I've always wanted it to be a cork-based product. The old conglomerated corks, though, were bound together with basically glues and microplastics. And to me, that's just replacing one problem for another, as far as how that'll affect the wine and things getting into the wine you don't want there to be, I guess. But finally, in the last couple of years, a company from Portugal, the cork company we use, has figured out a way to just use beeswax and vegetable oil as the binding agent to create this cork. So celebrate with me. You'll never again have a ruined bottle of wine from Calcareous. They will all be perfectly sealed and tasting and smelling how I intended them to taste and smell. And, you still get to use your corkscrew. You still get to pop it out. So look for that. Tell me what you think, Reach me here at Jason at Calcareous. So tell me what you think. But I'm very excited about it. But even more exciting is this 2021 Cabernet. Cabernet is a little different here than, I would say, Syrah, Grenache, things that Paso Robles got really known for. I think a lot of those varietals, but just from my experience with those varietals, year 3, 4, 5 on Syrah vines or Grenache vines, and you're getting pretty world-class character out of those grapes. They come out of the shoots young. A lot of the stylistically, you like big fruit and richness, and that's like young, vibrant fruit provides that. Cabernet is a little bit more complex, a little bit more of a slow burn. This 2021 marked 20-year-old vines. So we planted in 2002, 1-year-old vines in 2002. So in 2021, those were 20-year-old vines. And I think at that age, you're starting to get, to me, truer Cabernet character. Cabernet has a lot of more intricacies and complexity. It's not quite as fruit forward as a lot of the Rhones are. There's plenty of fruit, there's plenty of richness, but the intricacies, the complexity of the flavors, and a little more earthier notes, those are really starting to appear as these vines get to the proper age. And then 2021 being the year that it was, again, this nice extended out range of ripeness window allowed us to pick a little bit of Merlot and Cab Franc from the neighboring block, from the main block 2 cab here, co-ferment that all together. It's about 5% Merlot, about 3% Cab Franc in there. And produce much more of like to me, like an estate style version of like what Cabernet is. It's just so much more complex, I think, than the other cabs we've produced in the past. A lot of the Cabernets I've produced have been fruit forward and friendly, and I think, you know, on initial aging, you know, really young, you can open up and enjoy. We're getting into now Cabernet, which I think, you know, our cabs have been able to hold in there for a long time, and they've proven to be age-worthy, but now I think we're really starting to get somewhere with wines that are going to really age beautifully and gracefully, with the complexity building already. You know, it's not just black currants. There's, you know, the leather and the tobacco, and there's other just like little subtleties that you know, don't necessarily exist in there. Don't take my word for it when I use those words. Use your own experience. I think we all smell and taste things differently, or have different memories attached to different things that we have tasted in the past. And these things like trigger that. It's like you get so much complexity in here. You get all sorts of different aromas and flavors into this wine. And it's fun. It's fun to be developing into a much more serious Bordeaux varietal producing winery. I think the location has always been there. I think we just needed the years, and I needed the years personally, you know, to figure out how to make Cabernet and do it in a different way than I make my Syrahs, or that I make Zinfandel, make it in its own unique way. And this one is a real shining star from our vineyard. So I hope you enjoy.